Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA on a Monday morning, hour number 2 getting started, and glad to be with you today. Our next guest has a radio talk show herself. She is also the author of a book called Ladies Can We Talk? America Needs Our Vote. And she's a political strategist as well. We're talking about Debbie Georgatos, who joins us here on the Gary Sutton Show. Debbie, an honor to have you with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
And it's always nice to have a fellow talk show host person here. And I see you do yours on, 6:60 a.m. down there in Texas somewhere?
Yes, sir.
There you go. So, and a lady, a few words right here, very, very much to the point. Hey, I wanted to ask you, the NSA provisions expired last night. Doesn't look like they're going to expire for very long. We're going to have some kind of bill come out of the Congress eventually. But, what do you make of this right now? What happens next from your particular vantage point?
I think that the Senate is going to have to deal with the reality that we had an attack on 9/11. We have increasing terrorism in the world. We have ISIS on the march. And we have to have a responsible, serious policy that allows the NSA and other authorities to actually keep us safe. And I think that Rand Paul is demagoguing this issue. I think when people understand what this metadata thing is, it is not listening to you talk to your grandma about what kind of cookies to bake. It's not listening in on conversations. It's actually gathering data about who calls whom, and so you can figure out why is some farmer in Iowa calling some terrorist cell, 3 times a day over the last 2 weeks. It allows them to pick up patterns.
So if you saw, a lot of people have used the Boston bomber, for example. If you saw a number of calls coming from, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev or his brother to you, that would raise some eyebrows. Now, one of the things, I was just talking with a congressman a moment ago, one of the things that people have said, I've heard all kinds of different points of view on this over the weekends, I'm sure you have, and people said, well, the phone company's going to hang on to this, and then maybe if there was a court order, a FISA court comes up later on and they get a court order and says, well, here are our concerns, here's specifically what we're looking for, we need this data because we're checking out the leads on this. That doesn't seem like such a bad thing. The government's not holding on to that, but they have to give a pretty darn good excuse as to why they need that information, right?
I agree with that. All of this actually is coming out of Section 215 of the Patriot Act, which was unfortunately written in a very vague way. It gave authority to the NSA or the government to collect, and this is in quotes, any tangible things. And it's that language in Section 215 that told the NSA they can count metadata as a tangible thing. And actually there was a federal appeals court, a Second Circuit Court, held just earlier in May of this year that the government was too broadly interpreting what any tangible things means. I mean, they didn't really have authorization for this metadata collection to start with.
Well, when you think about it, the way we've interpreted the Constitution for a while now, and speaking about broad interpretation, my goodness, and you're looking at what commerce means and all those kind of things with relationship to Obamacare. I mean, this is kind of the trend, I guess you would say. It's been trending toward broader, not narrower interpretation, right?
Surely has. And this, what Rand Paul is saying, and I will say, I love privacy. I do not want the government in any business they don't have to be in. But I think most Americans, they love privacy and they also love their safety. And this, there was actually a Pew poll I just saw the last couple of days, I think it was, 2-1 Republicans saying the government's not doing enough to protect America. They're more concerned about being protected than their privacy.
Yeah, and so we fight this idea of, okay, what is unreasonable search and seizure of information? When our founding fathers built that in, they kind of knew what it was for them. But now in a day and age where you have such advances in IT and computers and phones and the whole thing, is it unreasonable to be able to search those items, or do they get off scot-free getting to use those as the chosen weapon of terrorism? Because basically the internet, as we well know, in terms of training lone wolves and things like that, and in recruiting, has become a real method of recruiting terrorists around the world.
Exactly, which makes it, I would say, reasonable to do that kind of searching. I remember from law school that there was always discussion of whether a search, to assess whether it's unreasonable, is the government on a fishing expedition was the other way to analyze if the government was just searching with no real reason to think they're going to find evidence. And this, the question of, is collecting metadata a fishing expedition or is it reasonable? I think given the way we communicate in the modern world, it's reasonable.
Yeah. Do you feel bad about the government holding that, or would you say let the phone companies hold that? What are your thoughts about that? Or is there any difference?
No, I guess I'd rather, in this day and age, have the government holding on to the metadata. And by that term, I mean just the record of the fact of a time and date of a call. I'm okay with that, but I think that the Senate, the Congress, has to revise the Patriot Act to address what the Second Circuit said, that it was too expansive. But I'm okay with the government holding on to the metadata itself and having to get a search warrant if we want to dive in and hear what the call was. I'd rather have the government hold on to it because things happen too fast in terrorism.
Yeah, they really do. I want to switch gears with you a little bit if I can, and I know and kind of lead toward your book a bit here. Ladies, Can We Talk? America Needs Our Vote. We're seeing Lindsey Graham jumping into the race this morning in about 20 minutes, and for the Republican nomination. I think he's like the 151st candidate to jump in, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm kidding, but you get the feeling that just everybody's running. What's the American woman looking for right now, from as near as you can figure, for candidates out there? You see a Rand Paul, at least he's separated himself from the other candidates. But what are American women as voters right now, and as people who control a lot of the pocketbooks in this country, as people who are looking out there and concerned about where their kids are going, and are they going to be shipped off to another war, and all the kinds of things that affect us daily? What are they looking for?
That is a great question. I think this soccer mom thing from another era right now, what it is security mom. I think women want to feel like their communities are safe. They want to feel like they know who's here in America. I think they would really respond well to a candidate who's stressed border security and security in general. And I know women feel, the tug at the heartstrings, the idea we're going to send troops somewhere. But I think given the reality, what we can see on the internet about ISIS, about the expansion of radical Islam around the world, I think American women are going to go for someone who says, we're going to be strong. We're going to defend America and preserve it as it is. So I don't think having Rand Paul sound like he's kind of siding with the Democrats, I don't think that's going to help him with American women.
Yeah. What are the number one issues? You said security with the American woman. Obviously, the economy is going to be a number one issue. What else is a big issue with American women right now as they look at this election?
I think education is. I think this Common Core thing out of Washington, it made a lot of, especially I will say, we're in the South, we're in Texas, a lot of Southern women and probably women everywhere. The idea that the federal government is both controlling education, but on top of that, is really instilling in young people the Common Core thinking of equating America as equally a viable system of an economy and a culture and a political structure as everybody else in the world. There's kind of a lack of respect for America that exudes from the Common Core teachings. And I think women want to hear, they want educational choice. They want education decisions remaining at those state and local levels. They want government. They want a kind of government mind your own business feel on education. And I think they really want the kind of system that assures them that their child is going to get a well-rounded and genuine education. I think what happened, when you see what women doing, they're more and more homeschooling, which we did not do, but the idea of homeschooling is, we're going to teach our kids what's right about America. They want to hear someone say those kind of things, I think.
One of the things that's interesting to me about the Common Core, I was an educator for 25 years before I got into this business, and I see them, and I see the government putting down this list of standards, but then I see them say, okay, the states have to take those and apply them to their states, and then the districts have to take that and apply how they want to do it. So, I mean, to me, and again, I'm not standing up necessarily for Common Core, but for me, you do have some of the things that you mentioned right there. You do have the applications as far as a state determining, and for example, in Pennsylvania, we have our own set of Common Core standards, and then we have our own application in our districts. Isn't there some state and local control there?
There is. I guess I would actually question whether there really needs to be a federal Department of Education. I think we, generally speaking, tend to trust too much that somehow some official has next to his or her name, I'm in the federal government, I have a job in the Department of Education, that we accord more status or intelligence to them, and there's really no justification for that. I think every state has a vested interest in a really high-quality education for their kids, and I don't trust federal administrators more than state to even set those standards.
We're talking with Debbie Georgatos, who's a political strategist and author of Ladies Can We Talk? America Needs Our Vote. I've always been confused. I'm kind of a Constitution guy. And amendment number 10, I'm silly like that, but in Amendment number 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. I don't remember education in one of the 17 enumerated powers being put there. And so that, therefore, according to Amendment number 10 to the Constitution, would be left to the states, would it not?
It certainly would. I'm a big constitutional person, too. I love it, and especially in the last 7 years, I've reread it more often. I've reread the Declaration of Independence. I think there could be just a real refreshing feel in America if we had candidates who wanted to re-examine, who got down the weeds on specific issues, but really had a more refreshing overall kind of redo or refurbishing of American thinking about government, and just said there are a lot of things the federal government doesn't need to be involved in. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just because it adds cost, layers of bureaucracy. It diminishes the dollars we have at the federal level to spend on what they're supposed to be doing, which is defending the country, their number one job. I think a candidate who said, we believe in the people and the power in the states, and we're going to turn back to the states what doesn't belong in the federal government, I think that would resonate with voters and with women, really with women.
What's interesting to me, Debbie, is we seem to have a group of people in D.C. now, and I would dare say maybe even around the country, who try to figure out ways to get around the Constitution instead of trying to figure out how to abide by it. Are we confused today in our country as to how to abide by the Constitution? People say, you have to go by the Constitution. Well, you look at it and you say, can I go by it? And you used to talk about the broad and narrow interpretations of the Constitution. Can I go by it in a narrow way, or is that in the eye of the beholder? How do you answer that question today when you say, well, how do we go by the Constitution today? But it seems to me that one of the things that we should ask would be about the spirit of the Constitution, which is, how do I provide more liberty and freedom for people under this form of government? That should be the first question that should be asked, instead of how do I get the government to take more of it away or more taxes away or that kind of thing.
That is I love that thoughtful kind of question. On the Constitution has been, or our confusion about it has really been aided and abetted by the courts, because over decades the courts have agreed that various, the Commerce Clause kind of authorizes almost anything that Congress does. You can find some way in which some law they pass touches on interstate commerce, and that's passed constitutional muster. So I think part of what's going to happen, the courts have to say, we're going to be a little more honest here, and a little more, we're going to genuine in interpreting the Constitution. Because if they don't do it, I think there's always just in the human nature of man, there's just kind of a lust for power, an enjoyment of power, or even in Washington, a kind of statist sense that we know better, and so we'll do all that we are authorized to do. So the court's going to have to cut back on that a lot. And then it takes the people, too, the American people being refreshed by the Constitution, encouraged by it, wanting to look at what we're supposed to have here, and to see it as something better as a federally controlled country, which is what you get when you have everything viewed to be potentially subject to federal regulation under the Constitution. Debbie
Georgatos is with us this morning, political strategist, author of Ladies Can We Talk? America Needs Our Vote. Let's talk when we come back about the candidates that are out there now, and particularly the women candidates that are out there now, and your thoughts about them, Debbie. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. Debbie Georgatos is a political strategist and author of Ladies Can We Talk? America Needs Your Vote. And you can actually check out her website at ladiescanwetalk.org, and she's back with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. Debbie, the one group of people who have not yet become president of the United States so far, one of many, I guess, but women. And we have some candidates out there this time around. We've got Hillary Clinton, who I understand is going to officially announce again coming up here soon, which I thought she had announced, but apparently this is like the grand reopening. And then you've got on the other side, you've got someone like Carly Fiorina. You've got Elizabeth Warren up in Massachusetts. People keep wondering if she's going to run. Talk a little bit about women and the best women out there who could run right now, and if you like any of the ones who are out running at the moment.
I really like Carly Fiorina, and I will say I'm conservative, and I try to not look at gender, race, ethnicity, national origin. I just want to hear, what do you believe in? What do you actually think? What are your values? But I am really impressed with her. She is, for one thing, among all the candidates, she's the one who's really willing to take on and point out Hillary Clinton's shortcomings, her foibles. And so I think she's really, really strong. And, on Elizabeth Warren, I think she is a little more likable than Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
I know she keeps saying she's not going to run, but if Hillary Clinton continues all these scandals and problems, it may be that I think Elizabeth Warren ultimately would love to be president. So if she stepped up, I think she'd be formidable. I think she would at least say, I'm a pretty much left-wing socialist. Here's what I am. She may call it populist, but she would be a good contrast and articulate presenter about very, very left-wing views. And so it would be great if we had a good conservative Republican and really kind of put it to the American people. Who are we?
Yeah.
I mentioned one other person, if I could jump in, which the last one is,
sure.
I think it is possible that Michelle Obama will run.
As?
Oh, for president.
Really?
Yes, I do. Michelle Obama has been very active, as you know, during her husband's term. I think she loves the attention. She loves the media. I think that people would see her as, she'd be not only the first woman president, but the first black woman president. And she's been very out there recently, talking all sorts of different places and just kind of trying to prove her stuff, I think. So this is my theory based on nothing other than watching her. But I think she's a little bit interested. I really do.
That'll be interesting to see that develop, because I've heard other people tickle at the edges of that, too. Finally, are there any candidates that you've seen out there so far that really have caught your ear, caught your eye? Obviously, Rand Paul and you would disagree on where we're at in the NSA thing right now. But we see Lindsey Graham stepping out there this morning. I see enough of him. I kid a little bit about the most dangerous place in America is the 10 feet between Lindsey Graham and a camera. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Who's out there that's kind of tickling your fancy right now?
Beside Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio. And both of them, I'll say, because I think they're both extremely articulate. They are engaging to listen to. In Ted Cruz's case, he is, I think your listeners probably have heard this story, but in high school, he and this other team of kids memorized the Constitution, and he can still say it by heart, the whole thing. He really gets what the Constitution means, and I think among all the issues we face in America, undergirding many of them are, as we were talking about earlier, are we following the Constitution or not? And I think I really, really like him a lot. Marco Rubio, engaging personal story. I've heard him in small context recently, small group things, where he really wows everyone because he's so from the heart. I'm not sure I sense strength in Marco Rubio. I'd love to hear him come out fiery and feisty about something. But I like him, too.
Very good. Well, I tell you what, it's been great talking to you this morning. I always love to get the views, especially from a fellow person in the industry, and yours is clear and loud. Where can people pick up your book, Ladies, Can We Talk? America Needs Our Vote.
It is on Amazon, and I really appreciate your mentioning it. The Ladies Can We Talk is just talking to American women about the basic idea that conservative policies actually lift up, help women more and everyone, and that all the left messages to women about you're a victim, you're helpless, you need big government to help you have really harmed women. And so it's a great book full of people's stories, and you can get it on Amazon.
And go to ladiescanwetalk.org as well. You can find that information there. Debbie, I hope we can talk again soon. Great time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Take care.
You too.